Hello and welcome to EvilGinger Miniatures, where I'm going to be doing my first role-playing review. It's going to be of Dagger Heart. This is Dagger Heart, which I'll get right up in a second. And it's a very nice system that I've recently started playing and really quite enjoyed. It's got a number of components to it, which I will examine in a moment, but it's something I've been enjoying playing and I'm going to tell you all about, which come from a deck of cards and their core class abilities, which are also put on the deck of cards. Nice box, which unlike many things, there's another dint over there I didn't notice. Oh well, it's nothing major, and as I'll be lugging it about in a backpack to go gaming, it's probably going to get worse. Right, cards. Sorry, this is probably a bit shiny. Just gently. No, they've actually properly card decked them, which means they've got a tab that should work to let you in them. He says, hopefully. It's having no fingernails because it's a regulation thing and a habit that I got kept back from nursing makes the whole tab thing a bit more of a pain. Right, cards are nice quality. They are up to the standard you would probably expect from Magic, and really is a lot of light in here. And they go from first level to 10th. And there are also one for each class. There appears to be two in each deck. There is a Kickstarter currently going on for the core deck, but if you haven't got the rule book, it is A, not necessary, and B, much more cost effective to be able to do this regularly without damaging the cards. But now I'm looking completely inept as I'm doing it on camera. Again, each pile has two decks in it, and each character class has two. So I'm going to be a little while just unboxing those because I will need them later. Just bear with me a minute while I faff around with this thing. Right. I'm fairly sure I'm going to have to get the box back up and start putting them back in there, otherwise they're going to go everywhere. So where did I put the box? There we are. See, this actual unboxing with actual faffing around and fiddling with. Right, so that. Put the knife down before I cut myself. Right. And I'll drop these back in here. And I've just knocked something off the desk. This is the problem with this place. It is very small and very compact. So I'm just reloading everything that I've opened into this. It's a thing to control. Let's put it down on the desk so we can see what I knocked off the top. Knocked something off the top. I think it might have been the mouse off the laptop. These are like all these cards are really nice and shiny, so they don't stay in their stacks once they're open. And that funny noise was, yeah, I've knocked the mouse off and the laptop is complaining because every time I move the cable, it causes the USB to connect and reconnect, and that was the connect and reconnect noise on my laptop. Again, more cards, and you can see that as they're very shiny, so they are picking up reflections quite a lot. I've got these all the way around, I think, but I will be sorting through them later when I do my character bits. If I'm GMing, I'll be taking all the cards with me. If I'm playing, I will probably be taking the little deck that each character ends up generating. Try and get these right around. And these should, in theory, run from 1st level to 10th level. As you pick these cards up as your character levels up. They don't seem to be in the right order. And they might be in, yeah, we'll have to sort them out by group at some point when I'm off camera. But basically, that's all the cards out. Let me fish that whatever fell off the floor. No, it was my camera that fell on the floor. But I'm still tweaking things. But those are the cards, which I'll put to one side if I can find some space. Ideally, I would have the laptop somewhere else, but at the moment it's where it is. Right, back to seeing me. And I should do the book. There we go. Could do with multiple cameras, so I can just switch between the cameras. And the book is this one. Nice glossy book, which again only got the other day, so it is very slight. So you're going to watch the end of an unboxing as I slice it open. These have been available technically for quite some time, but they would have been done in quite limited print runs, and they were selling out pretty much before they existed as a thing, which was annoying. Excuse me while I pick things up off the floor, because that's where things fall. Which, as I say, they've only been actually available fairly recently. They were technically available before that, but everything was selling out to pre-order, and they have obviously got past the initial pre-order rush. Let's get this camera properly centered, because I don't like the way these things connect to things, and they are a nuisance. I might actually get it on a tripod behind the screen rather than hanging off the front of the screen, but that is beside the point at this point. Darrington Press know how to do its marketing, but they have some issues with actually producing the product that is needed. As I say, the box this came in was battered, and the book is immaculate for the moment. Again, difficult to see what's on the pages because of the level of glare in here, which, if you bear with me, I'm going to fiddle about with the lighting. It's a bit dimmer in here for me and too dark for me to paint. You might actually be able to see what's going on. If I'm modelling in here and painting in here, or doing painting streams, I'm going to have to come up with a much better way of lighting it without washing everything out. I am actually this colour, not sort of bleached bone white. That's the book, and it's a good solid book, and I've not read it because I didn't invest it in the PDF, and I didn't get this. I got this off the Evil Rainforest entity rather than directly from Darrington. And if you get it from Darrington, you get the PDF book with it. But I always thought I'd invested quite enough for a player in the system that where you have to pretty much effectively buy a subscription to buy these books again online, so that you can character generation. There is good online, well, there is okay online support. It was a bit ropey. It's getting better, but it's the sort of thing you use for leveling your characters, printing character sheets, which, again, this is mine. This is Avaldor, the Wonderborn Dwarf, the nomadic dwarf wizard, who is currently at this point on 3rd level. And that's where he was after the last session, which isn't in bad state considering the damage that was done to everybody else, including the very nice gentleman who kept jumping in front of attacks on him. There are several iterations of Avaldor at lower level in there, and there is my backup character who is equivalent, who is still at 3rd level, who's a fighter. Right. Out to the character sheet. This character has been levelled up, so the stats are higher than the starting stats. That's important. But basically, you get points to allocate to these across here. Your armour is determined by what armour you're wearing, and basically will take 1 point of damage off any attack on you until that armour is spent. Basic armours will stop 3 hits. More advanced armours will stop 4, and I believe it levels up from there. This is a 4. Will stop 4 points of damage. 12 is the target number to hit you, effectively your armour class, and that is adjusted. That can be raised by levelling. There's base number, which I think is 11. I'm wearing an armour, which gives me an extra +1 to that, and you then can buy extra points by levelling, but you're limited to 1 every tier. So the way the tier system works is level 1 is 1 tier, level 2 is 2nd tier, level 6 to 8 is, I think, 3rd, but there are 5 tiers in total. You basically, the tier number is what determines this thing called proficiency. Now, proficiency is invoked in a number of abilities, and it means including all weapon attacks. And what happens on weapon attacks is that you roll extra damage dice. The the attack roll doesn't change, and it's done on 2d12. And the sum of the 2d12s, which are different colours, the blue being with hope and the red being hate or fear. You roll them, and you add them together to get your score, but the highest number on the dice is important. So if it's the blue dice in this case, you succeed with hope and you gain a point of hope, and hope is an in-game currency that you can use for interesting things and is necessary for certain class abilities and powers to work, so you have to spend a point to get something to work. If this rolls higher, your GM gains a point of fear, which is currency he can use to screw you over. It also, if you're making an attack roll, generally interrupts the flow of the game, which goes through the players with the villains from the GM interrupting only when they get fear, or the GM decides to spend fear to do things to screw you up. There is a limited pool of hope, which is 6, and there's a considerable larger pool of fear, which I'd need to look up in the book, because I've been a player, not a GM. But all I know is that the dice gods are hyperactive in this game and make sure that pretty much the GM has as much fear as they want when they want it. So be very afraid. Other features are the big sword experiences, which are one of those things that you can invoke with spending a point of hope. And they are, I'm better at this thing, or I've got something that will help in this situation. And they generally add +2, though levelling can increase that. If you want to spend your limited number of levelling slots on increasing that, I probably will be next time I level. As you only... the character generation also prints out all the cards you might need that you've access to, but the cards are much easier to read as the text on the cards is often cut off on the character, but it's still useful to have both of them and a bit of scratch paper. But that's Avaldor, who's an actual in-play character. and he uses this lot of dice. These are pizza stands which I use for flying characters, because one of our characters can fly. And these are the dice. They're not special. You just need D12 into 2 colours of D12 and sets of D&D dice. This is basically one set of D&D dice to which I've added extra because my character uses a lot of D6s and a lot of D8s and can use a lot of D10s. I need another D20 because I have a spell, which is my best spell, which is Fireball, which has a proficiency setting which I didn't notice, and as such needs to roll 2 of these when it does its damage. Damage is interesting because it's not the score on the dice that that does the damage. Damage is fixed. It's either 1 point, 2 points, or 3 points. And you have to roll over the threshold to get over various thresholds to get them. For example, if someone rolled under 10, I would take 1 hit point, which would be easily absorbed with armour. If someone rolled over 10 but less than 19, I would take 2 points of damage, only 1 of which could be absorbed by armour, so I would be taking 1 point of damage at minimum. And if they roll over 19, that would be severe damage, so that would be 3 points. Again, 2 points are likely to get through unless I have an ability to block that. But every time you block it with your armour, it damages the armour instead of you, and hit points are fairly limited. I have got quite a lot of hit points for a PC. I've got 7, and I have been taken down once in the campaign already, and I've been pretty close to it in other times. One of the faults with the character sheet generator is that it refuses to put hit points over 5. So as you can see here, I've actually had to do that in pen. It's okay with stress. Stress is like hit points, but it also counts, so you can spend to power certain things or to inflict penalties on people, and they're non-lethal damage unless you've run out of stress, at which point it takes on stress damage, comes with the hit points and can kill you. Armors have features like my armor's got flexible, which gives me +1 to evasion, and my sword has got reliable, which gives me +1 to attack rolls, which means that I roll my dice with +1 on it. Attack rolls are generally across the top here, the 2d12 duality roll, and plus an apparent characteristic. For physical attacks, it's normally agility. For trying to bend bars and stuff, it would be something like strength. And for thinking you out of situations, it's knowledge. And all of them have uses, and all of them shouldn't be dump statistics, but the way you get the starting stats, one of them will have to be, and in my case, it's presence, because we have a very, very, very nice, friendly Clank who does all of our negotiations, even though the elf should be the one that does the negotiations, because elves are supposed to be charismatic. At the end of the session, you record how much hope you've got, and that's what you start with. But it's a nice system. It's fairly straightforward and easily comprehensible once you get to know it. Can be a little confusing because of range categories. That's the problem I found with it. One of the players got very confused by distances, because distances are all mentioned in categories, be they melee, very close, close, far, very far, and then out of range. And he's used to running with a map, squares on it, and he couldn't get this less precise method of saying, right, this group's over here and they're far from you, therefore they're in far range. But we found and we've worked out that you can use both. And I created some cards for my GM which would generalise range categories, like everybody in this is at very far, and we use maps for more detailed things, because all of the range categories have an equivalent in squares. If you're using 5 foot, melee is 5 feet. Very closest is 15, so 3 squares if you're using the usual D&D type parlance. So you can get your head around it. You probably need a battle map and something to resolve the distances. A ruler marked with the categories in the squares. You just use it to mark round. None of those are available, but they're easy enough to make if you have any craft skills. Mine was basically a base with Pablo on it, the good old sticky back plastic from my youth, and basically, and the range was written on it with a Sharpie. So these are permanent markers on a material, and I did a load of blank ones so that if we had strange relationships. But for really close detailed stuff and stuff like dungeons, you really do need to have a map, I think. Or our group really needs to have a map. But I think we've got it covered there. It's a really good system. It's a really straightforward system with those tiny little caveats, and it's good fun to play. I think it's actually better than D&D 5e in many ways. Characters are a bit OP, but they're also capable of being messed up pretty thoroughly by the GM, who can have his moments of being very OP himself. So it's all good fun, and I will probably be running it online at some point now I've got the setup to run it. So Dagger Heart, not my favourite game system in the world, but a good solid one and well up with the pack, and a lot of fun in my personal experience to play. So that's the end of it for now. Hope everybody enjoyed that, and if you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section, and I will attempt to improve everything here, including the lighting and other stuff of that sort. So take care, everybody, and I'm going to do my usual faffing thing of finding where the mouse key pointer is, and then stopping the recording. So we're going to end it now. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye.